Let's begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now call this meeting of the Brevard County Board of Zoning Adjustment to order. Mr. Ball, would you please describe the function and operation of the Board of Zoning Adjustment to our applicants in the audience?
I'll take care of that. Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body established by the Board of County Commissioners under Chapter 62, Article 2, Division 4 of the Brevard County Code. The Board of Adjustment is empowered to hear requests for variances to the zoning regulations and the sign regulation in Chapter 62, Article 6, and Article 9. Pursuant to the Florida Rules of Appellate Procedure, any person or persons jointly or severally aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 30 days after the date of the order is signed, apply to a court of competent jurisdiction for appropriate relief. Mr. Chairman, you have 5 items on your agenda today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, our Vice Chair, please explain to the applicants in the audience the statutory definition of a hardship.
An undue hardship. A variance may be granted when it will not be contrary to the public interest or owing to special conditions of little enforcement of the provisions of this chapter will result in unnecessary and undue hardship. The term undue hardship has a specific legal definition in this context and essentially means that without the requested variance, the applicant will not have reasonable use of subject property under the existing development regulations. Personal medical reasons shall not be considered as grounds for establishing undue hardship sufficient to qualify an applicant for the variance. Economic reasons may be considered only in instances where the landowner cannot yield a reasonable use and or a reasonable return under the existing land development regulations. The applicant must answer a variance hardship worksheet with 6 questions. The Board of Adjustment will discuss these questions today with each applicant who has requested the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. I would like to address our board members, the applicants, and our audience about the procedures that we will be following in today's proceedings. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board with members appointed by the Brevard County Board of Commissioners will utilize Robert's Rules of Order to conduct its proceedings. The chair is asking all board members not to ask questions while the applicants are making their initial presentations. Once the applicants have completed that presentation, we will begin board questioning with the board member who represents the applicant's district. When concluded, questioning is open to the full board, and the chairman will recognize each member in turn. Once all board members have completed their questioning, we will then open the floor to the audience who may be here to speak concerning the applicant's application. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak will be given the opportunity to address the board, but only once. At the conclusion of public comment, the applicant will be given additional time for rebuttal, as well as to present their final comments. Once completed, no further comment will be heard from the applicant or the public. All proceedings come to this side of the bar. We will not use a timer for this meeting. Instead, we are asking each speaker to be concise in what they have to say. It is important that you stay on topic and avoid information that is not relevant. All persons speaking must provide their name and address for the public record. Those wishing not to verbally state their address may ask the clerk at the podium for an address card. Please fill it out and return to the clerk. Again, when you're at the podium, please speak directly into the microphone so that it's properly recorded. Okay. So, are there any questions regarding these procedures from the board members?
No.
Are there any questions regarding these procedures from the applicants? Are there any questions regarding these procedures from the audience? Seeing none, we will move to our next order of business. Next order of business is to approve the minutes from our previous meeting in April, since we had to suspend our meeting in May. Are there any additions or corrections to the April meeting minutes? I need a motion to approve
I'll
the
make a
meeting.
motion.
Mr. Higgins has made a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. McCann has seconded it. On the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. We now move into consideration of the variance applications. Mr. Ball, may we have the first applicant that is requesting a variance?
Okay. Michael John Consolazio and Sonya Lynn Consolazio, represented by Randy Lund, request a variance from Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code, Section 62-1406, subsection 7C3, to permit a variance of 6.3 feet from the required 10-foot rear setback for an accessory structure in an RVP, recreational vehicle park zoning classification. The property is .11 acres, located on the south side of Willow Lakes Lane, approximately 495 feet east of US Highway 1 in Mims. The address is 2833 Willow Lakes Lane, number 292, Titusville. The tax account number is 2111976, and this is located in District 1.
Thank you. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Yep, this is Randy Lund, and from 2852 Willow Lakes Lane. And I'm representing Mike and Sonya Consolazio as their agent.
Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. Balls, do we have authorization? Yes, okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I need to swear you in. Do you swear and affirm that the evidence you are about to give to this Board of Adjustment is the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how may we
Okay.
help?
All right, so I said, I'm Randy Lund, I'm the developer of Willow Lakes RV Park. So I've been there since the beginning. I'm also the general contractor for this house. And I've built over 100 homes in there. This is the first one I actually missed my mark on the setback, so I'm here for a variance for a completed house for this couple. The property affected by, well, what happened is it's the last lot in this part of the park, and so the golf course, number 9 hole, the cart path goes around back to the clubhouse. It had cut across this property before we started developing, so we had to take the cart path up and move it out of the way, so now it's like 15 feet from the back of the house. And with that confusion, we missed our property lines of setbacks, and didn't catch that till the end when we had a final survey done. So the house has been complete for some time. I was here last month, but it didn't. We didn't have a quorum, so I came back again for this one. So anyway, that's kind of what happened to me.
Okay. Your application arises in District 1, which is represented by Mr. Higgins, so you have the floor for questions.
Yes, I went by there. Of course, I didn't see you there, but I've seen the cart path where it was behind there, which doesn't reflect anything really with the home that's there. And there's plenty of room. It's just an egress part, which couldn't be used for anything else anyhow, that area.
Right.
So it poses no problem to the other owners there or anybody playing golf there, that not an owner. So I would say that it's not a problem to anybody. If any other questions from somebody, I'm done with the question.
Okay. Is there any other board member that, Mr. Bovell?
I'd just like to confirm that this, from the aerial, it looks like a manufactured home. Is it that? Is it a manufactured home, or just is a home that's built from a foundation?
It's built on a foundation.
Okay.
We call them accessory structure.
Okay.
There's always an RV, parked by it, and then it gets the people into a real bathroom and a real kitchen and so forth that are been living in RVs, so.
Okay, thanks.
Just a question for clarification. Is your variance request to legitimize the prior violation, setback violation, or are you requesting a variance in order to put in a screen porch?
Oh, no, the porch is already there.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
everything's been done, so.
Thank you.
Okay. If you could just step aside for a second. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or opposition to this variance? Okay, seeing none, your turn. Any last words?
I think I'm said enough.
Okay, you may have a seat.
Thank you.
Do we have it? Does the board have any, does anyone want to have questions or a discussion here among the board?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept as per request, as stated.
Mr. Chair, if I can just interrupt, I would make that motion as depicted on the survey as well.
As depicted on the survey, yes.
Okay, do we hear a second?
A second.
Mr. Bovell seconds. We have a motion. I'll now call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? None? The motion is approved. There is one step I forgot, and I'm going to do it now. In your application, you answered 6 questions explaining that this is, it's the hardship questions. So, definition of a hardship says that, are there any special conditions or circumstances which exist are not applicable to other land structures in the zoning classification? And the consensus here seems to be no. Are there special conditions and circumstances which do not result from the applicant? We heard that you admitted to a survey bust, so that one stands. Granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privileges denied by provisions of the chapter to other lands, buildings, or structures in identical zoning classification. That usually applies to celebrities or elected officials, which I don't believe you're not saying anything about the celebrity, but I don't believe you're an elected official. The literal interpretation of the provisions of the chapter will deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification. I don't see that we're conferring any, or we're depriving other applicants of similar rights. That the variance grant is the minimum variance, considering that it is an existing de facto condition that it ends up being the minimum. That granting the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and I believe that we all agree it is. So, we already voted. Your motion is approved. May we have the next applicant, please?
Okay, item H2 has been removed and will be re-advertised for a later date.
If it's okay, I'm just going to make a motion that we remove this due to the circumstances. It needs a new survey, and it will take longer than just preparing it for the next meeting. So I make a motion, we remove it from the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McCann seconds. Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. The H2 is forwarded to the next meeting. May we have the next applicant, please?
Item H3, Nicholas P. Riippa, represented by Holly Tanner, requests a variance from Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code, Section 62-1339, subsection 5A, to permit a variance of 10 feet from the required 20-foot rear setback for a principal structure in an EU2 estate use residential zoning classification. The property is .40 acres located on the southwest corner of West Coral Way and North Riverside Drive at 327 West Coral Way in Indialantic. The tax account number is 2716864, and this is located in District 5.
Okay, thank you. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Holly Tanner, 2300 Avocado Avenue, Melbourne, Florida, 32935.
And you are an owner or
I am the agent in representing Mr. Riippa.
and we have you authorized. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give this Board of Adjustment is the truth?
Yes.
Okay. How may we help?
I am the agent, and also we are the general contractor for Mr. Riippa. He had hired us to start looking at doing an addition. He had requested an addition for his home. He wants a bigger family room area, and he wanted to just go straight back into the house to the rear of his home. The main family area, as you can see, is mainly in the center, is where the living room is and the kitchen. And he wanted to extend and put an addition straight, just basically attaching to that area. Over to the east side is the master bedrooms. There's bedrooms on both sides, so it just made more sense from a logistics standpoint and just a flow. Also, the pool, he wanted to be able to have that avail in terms of the layout, and have the family area also being able to enjoy the pool area too. So what we are asking for is actually, it's a 20-foot rear setback. We wanted to see if we're requesting a 10-foot rear setback to be able to accommodate for the size addition that he has been requested. What is requesting, it's about 500 square feet. They do a lot of entertaining, and they basically wanted a larger family gathering area is what the request is.
Anything else?
No?
Okay. This arises in District 5, which is my district, and I have just a couple questions. This addition or this setback variance that you're requesting, you have a rear neighbor there. What is the separation? Is it just land, a wall? What?
There's a wall. It's a concrete wall.
Okay. Do you have any supporting affidavits or anything from that neighbor saying that they're opposed or in accordance with this?
We do not. We had set out the advertisement, but we had not received any type of affidavit in terms of whether they were opposed or not to it.
Okay, nothing specific
Nothing
from them?
specific, no,
Okay.
sir.
That's all the questions that I have. Open it up to the board for anyone else to ask questions.
Assuming
McCann?
you've been to the property, I'm looking at an overhead photograph of the property, and just to the west of the property is a house that looks like it's situated on the Indian River. There's either a structure, accessory structure, or part of the main residence that looks like it's built right up to the property line. Is that to your understanding?
Yes, that is to our understanding. We actually looked into that because I know that's not an excuse a lot of times when I apply for a variance, but that is, there is a right up close to the property land that it seems like it's a detached structure.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I noticed the same thing on that one and the one adjacent to it behind it. The one's got the pool built pretty close there, and looking at it, this one with the structure on it behind it actually looks closer than it's actually showing here. But it's not the only one if you look around, though.
Actually, I don't have a question, but when we have a discussion, I just make a comment. I don't have a question, but I'll wait until we have discussion after the, yeah.
Any closing words, thoughts?
No, I think there's a lot of great landscaping around that area. I mean, from a privacy standpoint, but there are a lot of different structures around that area. But I think it will be well, you know, people will. I don't think it's going to be offensive. It's going to actually improve the property itself and what they're proposing to build there. So that was all I was going to add to that. So
Okay.
thank you.
Would you just step aside or something? Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak in favor or in opposition to this variance application? Seeing none? Please return. Last words.
No, I
How
just
about-
appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay, please have a seat. That opens, no, we make a motion
Have a
first,
motion
right?
first, then discussion.
As chair, I can't make a motion,
So
so,
make it, unless you want to.
Not really.
I'll make a motion that we accept it as per, I guess my brain is dead here, as per the requested, as depicted on the drawing.
I second.
okay. Motion made by Mr. Higgins to accept, and Mr. Bovell seconds. At this point, is there any discussion? And Mr. Bovell, you indicated you might have.
Yeah, I made some of the same observations that you guys have discussed about other properties, surrounding properties that have either part of their home or an attachment that encroaches into what would most likely be the easement. And on the subject property that we're talking about, the pool encroaches into the more than this proposed extension that they're about to do. So I don't have a problem with it.
Very good. Any
Yeah.
other discussion, comments? Okay.
No.
Seeing none. We have a motion on the table. We had discussion. I need to read the 6 questions here. That special conditions and circumstances exist that are not applicable to other lands. Well, from all our discussion, it may not be applicable, but it's there with other lands. Special conditions and circumstances do not result from actions of the applicant. I commend you for coming forward and trying to get pre-approval rather than coming back and asking for forgiveness. That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privileges denied by the provisions. That would apply to celebrities, elected officials. I don't believe that applies here. That literal interpretation of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification under the provisions of the chapter. And seeing from the aerial photograph that other people are doing pretty much the same thing, doesn't look like we're depriving others by approving this. That the variance granted is the minimum variance. We're taking your word that 10 foot is enough. That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter. I believe it is, and within what the neighborhood is showing. With that, I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So your motion is approved. The application is approved. All right, moving on. Can we have the next applicant, please?
Item H4, Jessica L. and Derek Comparado request a variance from Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code, Section 62-2109, subsection A, to permit a variance of 2 feet over the 6-foot height limitation for a fence in an EU estate use residential zoning classification. The property is .34 acres, located on the north and west sides of Leslie Drive, approximately 90 feet west of Linnea Road at 1260 Leslie Drive in Merritt Island. Tax account number is 2511327, and this is located in District 2.
Okay, thank you. The applicants will need to swear you in and all that. So could you state your name and address for the record?
Jessica Lynn Comparato, 1260 Leslie Drive.
And Derek Matthew Comparato, 1260 Leslie Drive, Merritt Island.
Okay, we'll do this as a twofer here. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give the board is the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you can proceed. I stopped you with the exhibits because I need to get a, no, hang on. We can accept those, and they go into the record. Okay, you may.
These, Bill, 2 for each? Okay.
There's one packet. There's 2 packets.
You.
Second one for. Okay, how may we help you?
Okay, so we share a backyard fence line with our neighbor, and that's where our pool is located in our backyard, and we have 2 young children that are 6 and 4 years old, and we received a notice a few months ago regarding some who has moved into our neighbor's home, and that's the information we handed out to you. And under those circumstances, we're very uncomfortable with having our children out back, outside, and we wanted to request that our fence be able to be raised to 8 feet for privacy reasons, considering the previous charges and things that took place with the person living next door now.
Our neighbor's daughter is a sex offender.
I can see from the documents that you gave us, you are showing the record of your neighbor being
With serious charges.
registered sex offender.
And we have, on our street alone, at least 20 children under the age of 10. And with her being convicted with the charges she was convicted of, I have no idea how she is living where she is living. And I am in shock, and our children are just not able to go in the backyard. We have storm shutters on our children's windows because their windows are facing their backyard, and the least we can do is raise the fence the 2 feet, because that's all we can do. That's all we have.
Okay, thank you. I think we asked for rebuttals. Yeah. Just step aside. I need to notify.
No questions.
Even before we do the, oh, okay, sorry. No problem. I'm out of order.
No problem.
Your application arises in District 1, which is, District 2, which is Mr. McCann, so he has the floor to ask you questions.
Thank you. To me, these are very unfortunate circumstances. You didn't move into this. It was forced on you. And the charges are atrocious, as you indicated. And I can empathize with you and your situation and what your fears would be. For the record, I went to the property today, and both houses are very close to each other, separated by this 6-foot privacy fence. At one point, this fence had a big gap between the top of the fence and the fence posts, spigots, whatever they call it, pickets. And the homeowners had put electrical tape over there because it's at eye level, and it's right from the next door neighbor's yard that has the sexual offender living there and your pool area. So I was able to see that, and for me, I can understand your fears and understand what you're facing. And have you had any incidents with this person who's living next door?
The father has approached me and harassed me while I was mowing the lawn and demanded to know why I was not interacting or addressing them in any sort of way, since his daughter, who is the offender, has moved into the home and has approached me and wanted to know, why aren't you like saying hi to me? Why aren't you blah, blah, blah? And I, I'm not, this isn't, I'm not having this type of argument with you in this front lawn. I'm mowing my grass. I'm trying to keep to myself. And he just stood there and stared at me and would not go. And he kept getting louder and louder, and finally just turned around and walked away. And I would not start. And that was the last time. And that was this past weekend. And I have not seen or addressed the situation since.
I heard that one of your concerns was why the neighbor was allowed to move in. Just for the record, that's outside the scope of our board. We're here just to decide about your variance. I don't have any more questions.
If after reviewing this with everybody, if we did accept some form of adjustment there, is there any way you could just do the back fence on their side?
That's all we can ask for.
That's all.
Because that's pushing it to the extremes, I mean, of all the others, but I
So that's
certainly.
all they're asking for.
That's all
Okay,
we're allowed
okay,
to
I'm
ask
sorry.
for.
But,
It's only the fence
okay,
that separates
all right.
the two properties.
That's all we're allowed to ask for.
I understand, I'm sorry, okay.
Any other questions?
George?
Need to ask for, you could step aside, please. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or opposition to this variance request? Seeing none, please return to the microphone. And any final comments before we take it under review? Okay, thank you. Take a seat, please. Mr. McCann, it's your district. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request as depicted in the survey and in the application.
I second.
Mr. McCann has made a motion to approve. Mr. Bovell has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion among the board members?
I did notice that there's several accessory structures on that property that are adjacent to the applicant's property, and those structures, the roof line is well above the 6-foot fence that's existing now, and should we grant this variance, I think it would serve a great amount of protection of their pool area.
Okay. Any other? Okay, I need to go through those 6 questions. I need to find my paper that has them listed because I don't remember them off the top of my head. There they are. Okay. That special conditions and circumstances exist that are not applicable to other land structures or buildings. Well, I think we discussed that. There is a special condition in the rear of this property. That the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. I think that has also been well stated. That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the provisions of this chapter to other lands. I don't think we're denying anyone else the privilege of having similar protections. That literal interpretation of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning classification. I think that also, I believe our discussion said that we're not depriving others of the right to have the protections that are part of this application. That the variance grant is the minimum variance. I believe 8 feet is probably the minimum, and with the discussion that would get it up to the roof line. Yeah. That granting the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and I believe that's true as well. Having done that, read through that, I'm ready to call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? It unanimously passes. Your application is approved. May we have our fifth applicant of the day?
Okay, item H5, Andrew and Iryna Afong request variances from Chapter 62, Article 6, Brevard County Code as follows. Number 1, Section 62, 1340, subsection 5A, to permit a variance of 7.78 feet from the 20-foot rear setback for a principal structure. Number 2, Section 62, 1345A, to permit a variance of 5.47 feet from the 20-foot rear setback for a principal structure. Number 3, Section 62-1345, subsection 5B, to permit a variance of 0.7 feet from the 7.5-foot side north setback for an accessory structure. Number 4, Section 62-1340, subsection B, to permit a variance of 0.8 feet from the 7.5-foot side north setback for an accessory structure in an RU 113 single-family residential zoning classification. The property is .30 acres located on the west side of South Tropical Trail across from Plantation Road at 2175 South Tropical Trail in Merritt Island. The tax account number is 250778, and this is located in District 2.
Thank you. Would you state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Iryna Afong, 4180 Alberton Road, St. Cloud, Florida.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the evidence you're giving the Board of Adjustment today is the truth?
Yes.
Okay. How may we help you?
May I distribute this first? The exhibit?
Yes.
You'll need to provide a copy for us for the record. I just need one. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, members of the Board of Adjustment, county staff, and everyone else present. As stated, the property in question is at 2175 at Merritt Island, South Tropical Trail at Merritt Island, and it is zoned as residential RU 113. And I thank you today for your time and consideration for these variance approvals for the required setbacks from Section 62, 1340.5 A and B of the Brevard County Code of Ordinances. As you can see on the survey in the exhibits there, the variances 1 and 2 are for the rear setback for the principal structure, and there are 7.78 feet at the southeast corner and 5.47 feet at the northeast corner. Actually, those setbacks are for the design feature that kind of angles out from the little wall that comes out of the house. The actual house itself is at 5.48 feet and 3.77 feet accordingly, which decreases the setbacks from 38.9 feet to 27 for the first one and 24.7 to 18.8 from the second one for the house itself. Variances number 3 and 4 that we are requesting are for the rear, for the side setback for the existing garage structure, and they're 0.7 and 0.8 feet short from the required 7.5 feet. The original house was built in 1953. We have purchased this home in November of 2020 and have decided to renovate it so that it could be a great fit for our family and also to fit in with the neighborhood. There are several houses up and down the street that are being renovated, reconstructed. The street is being beautified, so we thought it would, be a great value to us and also great value to the properties nearby. As we started the design process, we were advised by our design team that if we do a level 3 remodel to improve the current conditions, we would not be violating the variances because, the setbacks, because it's an existing structure that we are improving. So then during the permitting, it has been flagged for the setbacks. So our intention was not to request variances. Our intention was to be able to work with what we have and improve it as much as we can. I want to mention that the property has a irregular configuration also, and the widths to where it's kind of hard to put in all the proper setbacks. So the proposed house is mostly within the existing house boundaries, and it's actually a smaller footprint and is creating the better conditions on the southeast side of the house, where a portion of the house is within the required setback all the way south on the south portion. And then the portion of the house that is not with the required setback is actually a decrease in deviation from the requirement from 5.77 feet to 5.48. Furthermore, I would like to improve that this improvement to the house is actually better in the condition on the front lot setback. Currently, the house is at 16.64 feet on the southeast corner. And as you can see on the survey, the proposed house is actually at 22.34 feet and that same corner, so being thus within the 20-foot required setback. As for the third and fourth variances, as I've mentioned, this is the side setback for existing structure. We are actually not changing the footprint of the structure. Our intent is to just beautify the structure and make it match the house, make it match the just contemporary style. So this deviation is existing and has not been created by us. It's just existing structure that we're not changing. So additionally, like I said, that the irregular lot configuration and size limit our ability to set the house properly so that it would be within the required setbacks. So we aim to just improve as much as we can the current situation. I'd like to also mention that with this project, we will be updating the current septic system, which is old, outdated, and is beyond repair. We have hired a local engineer to design and permit the best possible option for this property, which ended up being performance-based treatment system. As you know, there is extensive initiative, as you may know, extensive initiative on the Indian River Lagoon improvements for the wastewater facilities. To prevent wastewater leaching into the river and protect the environment. So our proposed system, which has been permitted already, will definitely help out with that. And on the pages following the survey, we have included actually the inspiration design picture with which the whole process has started, and the existing house photo, and also pages for the front and back of the house from the construction plans. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McCann, you're busy today. This is rises in your district.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So I did stop by the property today to take a look at what your request is. It looks like in person. I did notice the garage structure pre-existing that is constructed very close to the north property line. When you do your remodel, there's no additional construction towards the property line. You're going to stay within that same footprint.
Yes.
And that same thing in the rear of the house. The rear of the house extends into the setback currently.
Yes.
And when you do your construction, you're not going to construct any closer to the rear setback.
No, we're actually improving the condition and constructing it further away the other opposite direction.
So I did notice a short block wall that looks like it was recently constructed. Can you comment on that block wall?
This is actually, so the plan there is going to be that this is just going to be a bench with some plants. So this is like a plant bed.
Okay.
And we're going to put a bench there and just going to have some herbs on the back growing and vegetables.
So if we approve your variance request, it will not cover that wall. Can't comment if it's in code or not code. That's not for me to comment. I just want you to know that that doesn't apply to your variance request.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does any other board member have questions?
No, don't have any specific questions, but my understanding is that, number one, you got a house that was built in 1956. You want to improve it, and from everything that I see here, you're either staying within the footprint or decreasing the existing encroachments.
Yes.
That's kind of what I see. And the proposed structure is awesome. So you got my support.
Looks like a framework.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? No?
You did well explaining it.
Thank you.
Yes, good presentation. And we appreciate that you came here proactively to get the variance rather than going back and asking for, forgiveness later.
Thank you.
Would you please step aside? I believe that at this point, is there anyone in the audience who cares to speak in opposition or support of this variance application? Okay, seeing none. Any last words before we deliberate?
Just in conclusion, I want to thank you guys for your time and your consideration.
Okay, you may
On
have a
this matter.
seat, please.
Thank you.
Okay, need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 4 variance requests as described in the application and depicted on the surveys.
I second.
Mr. McCann makes the motion to approve. Mr. Bovell has seconded. I will, when I find my notes, go through the 6 variance hardship definitions. Special circumstances and conditions exist which are not applicable to other lands. Well, no, they're applicable to all the neighborhood lands. That special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. Well, that's kind of variable because the code changed after the building was built, and you haven't taken actions yet. The granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privileges denied by the provisions of the chapter to other lands in the identical zoning. We don't believe that that is the case. Literal interpretation of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicants of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the identical zoning application. I don't believe that that applies. That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, and structure, while as the footprint actually decreases, as I understand from our discussion, that certainly meets the minimum. That the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and that such use and variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental. Well, I don't believe any of us feel that it's injurious to the area. So having said that, I will call the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Your motion, or the motion's approved and your application is approved unanimously. Okay. Is there any other business before this board today?
Mr. Chair, if I just can have the floor for a couple minutes, I just
Sure.
wanted to, an observation that I heard today is I want to caution you all when you use the aerials to determine whether a structure or something is over a property line. Sometimes the aerial can give you a false sense of where that structure is on the property. Most of the times that an aerial is not directly overhead, and you can skew that where a fence is or not. So I just want to caution you on that because it does change a little bit. And so the other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that Ms. Tanya Ramos's last day is next week. This is her last Board of Adjustment meeting. I just want to go on the record and say that I appreciate her hard work and good luck in her new opportunity. Thank you.
Good luck.
Very good.
Good luck.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no more business today before the board, I declare this meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.